a year in this role, there's been a couple of things that has made me incredibly proud. Many things that made me incredibly proud to be at that podium during this historic moment. Again, this is a historic administration. I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day. But this is also a historic making administration because of this president.
And of course, we know who that lovely person is. That's Karine Jean Pierre, the press secretary for Joe Biden, who proudly stands at that podium every week with her binders to answer questions for reporters. Well, most of the time, she tries to answer questions. It's usually, I don't have anything for that. I'll have to get back to you. I don't have anything for that. And if not, she'll go through the binder and look for something to say. Anyways, welcome back to another episode. I want to talk about KJP today because she went on some talk show or some whatever it was on stage. And of course, this administration always talks about the LGBTQ community. They seem to have that community at the forefront of everything they do. We all know our country is suffering from high inflation still, homelessness, drug addicted people on the streets, thousands of refugees coming through the borders every day. But this administration likes to focus on the LGBTQ community. Why, I don't know. We all know it's a very big community, and we have to assume that these people are voting for Biden and Harris. We can't stop them, right? There's nothing we can do about it. And I say this all the time, and I'll say it now in the beginning of this video. No one cares that anybody's LGBTQIA plus, whatever else they add to it. No one cares. But KJP went on some thing, I don't even know what you want to call it, and she made a statement that I was a little taken aback by because she didn't have any proof. She didn't show any proof, but she said it.
It is unprecedented, it is scary, it's even tribal, where the LGBTQ plus community is literally under attack. Literally.
Okay, there you have it. The LGBTQ community is literally under attack. Who are they under attack by? I know they're up in arms because a lot of states have passed legislation to protect children from cross-sex hormones or gender-affirming surgeries for young people. Once you're 18, you can do what you want, right? You're an adult. But a lot of states, including Florida, Florida's the main one. Everybody wants to get out of Florida because it's anti-gay and the Don't Say Gay bill, which is nonsense. We all know that's not what that bill was about. But they're all unhappy with Governor DeSantis because he's trying to protect children. But you can't tell the proponents of this group that, because according to them, everybody who doesn't go along with what they want is transphobic, anti-gay, is a bigot, is an extremist, when that can't be further from the truth. And as it goes on, the GLAAD CEO, Sarah Kate Ellis, and GLAAD stands for the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. She had an interview and she went on to say that Twitter, we all know the Twitter platform, Elon Musk bought it a while back. Twitter is turning into a weapon against trans people. And she actually said Elon Musk has turned Twitter into a weapon by taking away safety protocols for trans people. What I think Elon did was allow people to speak their mind, have an opinion, right? Of course, bullying's bad. Spewing hate is bad. We all know that. And that's not what I do. And I'm sure that's not what you do. But you can't tell these people that because it's always transphobic, anti-gay. You hate LGBTQ. We need rights. We don't have any rights. I really don't understand, and I think I've said this so many times, what rights don't they have that we don't? But anyways, here's what Sarah Kate Ellis had to say.
Let me focus on Twitter specifically, because GLAAD's scorecard has called Twitter the most dangerous platform for LGBTQ people. Attacks there have increased substantially since Elon Musk took over Twitter last fall. In fact, it is the only platform whose scores got worse year over year. You mentioned that there's incremental improvement on some of them, which would presumably be the other ones. But what is it about Twitter? What's going on at Twitter?
So there is incremental improvement on all of them except for Twitter, which did lose significantly statistically, significant progress. And what's really sad here is that Twitter actually used to be the leader. We sat on their Trust and Safety Council, but Elon Musk has turned Twitter into a weapon against the LGBTQ community, and he leads the charge. Literally leads the charge with tweeting out anti-trans rhetoric and misinformation about the trans community and the LGBTQ community. And so when you have the head honcho leading the charge, and having all of his disciples falling into place behind him around misinformation too, what really triggered Twitter for losing their status, though, or for going back, is because they took away safety precautions for the trans communities, for misgendering folks on their platform. And they just one day took it all away. And it had been working really well. So it's really unfortunate.
So yeah, according to Sarah Kate Ellis, Twitter is the most dangerous platform for LGBTQ people because Elon has allowed people to spew anti-trans rhetoric, or as she called it, misinformation on that platform. Again, I don't use Twitter, but again, I believe that Elon Musk made Twitter a space where people can speak their mind and voice their opinion without being censored or blocked or taken down. And Ellis was happy when Twitter was under old ownership because they were on the board and people could go on there and say whatever, and if Twitter didn't like it, they would censor it or block it and take it down. That's when the GLAAD CEO liked Twitter. They had no problem with it back then because everything they wanted done was being done. That's what it seems like. But now they don't like it because people are spewing anti-trans rhetoric. Well, you're not going to have everybody happy with everything, okay? But why this administration in Washington is using this community as their main talking point, because that's all we hear. Everything is LGBTQIA, every single thing. You heard KJP, she's historic. The administration's historic because she's LGBTQ. And again, no one cares. There was a thing once that Biden had the most LGBTQ staff. No one cares. Why can't we just get on a level playing field and say, no one cares? See, they are fighting for rights, and I honestly don't know what rights they're fighting for. We all have the same rights, don't we? They're saying job discrimination, housing discrimination. They're being bullied. They're being harassed. They're being attacked. I, for one, don't see any of that. And I'm not saying it's not happening, but every single person has to get on board with this movement, because if you don't, you're no good. And like I said, there's states where people are running out of there because they're anti-gay, transphobic, anti-trans. Florida was a big one, and now Texas is another one because Governor Abbott signed legislation that would stop biological males from competing against biological females in college. It was already in law that you couldn't do it in K through 12. Now you can't do it in college either. We all know the William Leah Thomas saga, and people aren't happy about that either because we don't know what we're talking about. There's no evidence that males have an advantage over females. It goes on and on and on. And here's a little piece of that about why they don't like it.
Latest legislation aimed at LGBTQ Texans, and it has some looking to lead the state.
Part of me hates the fact that I'm leaving Texas, the home I've always known.
This bill is clearly discriminatory. There isn't enough evidence. They're creating a problem that doesn't exist.
LGBTQ advocates say, if anything, the law further harms their community.
That has had and continues to have a huge impact on the way trans kids and trans people see themselves because of the way that the government treats them.
So that's why people aren't happy. The first person with the beard and glasses, I'm not going to misgender anybody, I want to see the person with the beard and glasses is leaving the only home that they ever knew. They're leaving Texas because they're not getting their way. How about this? Texas is the only home you've ever known. So stay there and live your life. What do you care if someone doesn't agree with what you do? Just do you, and don't bother anybody, and don't protest and advertise. No one cares. But they're not getting their way, so they want to bail out. Then the law, this new ban, doesn't have any facts. There's no science behind it. I don't even know what she said because, you hear the same thing over and over again. But they said that the problem doesn't exist, that there's a problem with biological males competing against biological females. Well, it is a problem, and we've seen it. We've seen it in swimming. We've seen a volleyball player get a concussion from getting hit in the head with a ball that was spiked by a biological male on the other team. We've seen biological males winning bicycle races by miles over biological females, and it goes on and on. So yes, there is an advantage, and the problem does exist because it's wrong, and it shouldn't happen. And that's my opinion. I've said this so many times before, and I'm probably not the only one. Compete against your biological sex or gender. And if you're not good enough, then so be it. Because it's unfair for the other side to be competing against someone who has an advantage. Now, if you're young kids, the advantage might not be too great. But once you're into your late teens and early adulthood, then the advantage exists, like in college. So I don't understand what the uproar is. If there's that much of a desire to compete, form leagues for the LGBTQ. There are enough of these people out there, and if they're that passionate about playing sports, because they're out there protesting everything else, right? They're harassing me. They won't give me an apartment. I didn't get a job or whatever else, and the list goes on and on. If they're that passionate to play a sport, form your own league, and everybody's happy, right? You get to compete against your own. That's fair. But it shouldn't be this big issue all of a sudden that biological men who aren't good enough to compete against biological men have to compete against biological women. I believe it's wrong, and I think all these pro-LGBTQ people who want this to take place, I believe they know it too. They'll never admit it, but they're just trying to get their point across. So if you're unhappy with laws that are passed in your state, where a politician who's in charge is trying to protect children because he believes that children are too young for this, that, or the other, that's what it is. And if you're leaving because of that, then that's on you. But don't blame everybody else, because that's how politics works, right? Unfortunately, we have an administration who just wants this for every state in our country. And they will not rest until they get laws passed where little Johnny can become little Jane, whether his parents like it or not, because that's what it seems like the government's trying to do, because they're so against this. They're having these festivals and pride parades, which are all well and good. Be proud of who you are. Celebrate it. There's nothing wrong with that. But why again and again are we the bad ones for saying something that we just don't agree with it? I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're a lesbian. I don't care if you're transgender. No one gives a shit. I don't understand why they can't just believe that, because that's true. The majority of Americans could care less. Just do you. And if you're unhappy in the state because of laws, then go find another one where the laws make you happy. But they're leaving these states mainly because they're not getting their way. I don't believe there's a tax. I don't believe that that's happening day and night. Like KJP would want you to believe. They're literally under attack. Her words, not mine. Where is the proof? Where is the evidence? We see violence every day all over the country. I'm not hearing specific cases where this group is being targeted. Yes, there were shootings in gay clubs. There's been shootings everywhere else, in schools, in malls, in parks, in supermarkets, in parades. You name it, it happens. But you mainly hear about the gay clubs because they're under attack. It's just getting so tiring that everybody just can't get on the same page with this. Why can't you just live your life the way you choose and don't broadcast it? That's it. You don't need to broadcast it every time you walk out the door. Go about your business, because your next door neighbor or the person you're walking by on the street doesn't care how you live your life. It's none of my business how you live your life. I don't care. No one cares. The only people who care are the liberal politicians and the left-wing liberal media who are pushing this issue to try to get everybody on board with it. In my view, it's political propaganda for votes for a specific political party, because that's all you hear about. Everything that comes out of the White House lately is LGBTQ this, LGBTQ that. Enough is enough. Talk about the real problems in our country. Talk about the millions of homeless people. Talk about the drug addicted and mentally ill people who need help. Those people don't seem to matter because they're not in a certain community. And it's wrong, and I believe it needs to stop. And this is no hate towards anyone or anything or any group. You are free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, if it's within the law. We all pray to the same God. No matter what religion you have, you pray to your God. Your God judges you, not your neighbor or the guy you're walking by on the street. Stop broadcasting it. Stop advertising it. And live under the rights that we all have as American citizens. I don't care if you're black, white, gay, straight, bi, trans. We're all human beings. We all have the same set of rights to live by. And that's how it's got to be. One group should not have more rights than another group, and they shouldn't be pushed ahead of everybody else. The entire United States is struggling. And until this administration realizes that, we're never going to come together. Because as far as I'm concerned, they don't want anybody to come together. They want hate. They want bigotry. They want rhetoric to be pushed, when the majority of us just want to live our lives like we do every day and go about our business. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell. You won't miss an episode. Share this video with someone. I'd appreciate that too. I hope everybody's healthy and safe, and Hopefully someday we'll all get on the same page and everybody will be happy. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. You can't make everybody happy, but just go about your daily life. You do you, I do me, everybody, you know what I mean? That's how it's got to be. End of story, bottom line. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night.